Hello, I'm Michael Finn, holistic exercise and lifestyle coach, and today is going to be all about learning how to squat to keep your legs strong and healthy throughout your life, and learning how to squat correctly on top of that. So I am going to show you a plethora of exercises today, which means a whole lot. And that way I can show you how to progress things and how there's so many different things that you can do that are going to help improve your squat. Now, real quickly, very important to stretch to improve your squat as well. There's lots of stretching videos here on my YouTube channel, like stretching the calves, stretching our hip flexors, stretching our quads, stretching our hamstrings, stretching our glutes, all sorts of things, all right? But I'm not going to go into that. Look for my stretching, and I will mention a few things as I go through and where you might have a problem. So here we go. So we're going to start lying down on the back. Now you're probably saying, how are we going to squat lying down on our back? But this is the simplest position. So if you know squatting is really hard for you, we can start with just laying on the back, which you can really just do in bed. So with our feet about hip width apart and our legs bent where our feet are flat on the floor, and our spine is nice and straight and we're keeping our spine nice and long. And then all I want you to do is what we call a floor bridge, where you just push through your feet and you elevate your hips and you lift your hips up off the floor to where you basically become a straight line from the knee all the way up to the shoulder. You keep your belly button in a little bit so you have some stability there. You're focusing on using your glutes and your hamstrings. If you push your toes a little bit, you'll feel your calves engage a little bit, but you want to have like equal balance between your heels and the balls of your foot. And then you can lower back down again. So it's just a nice big inhale as you push those feet and elevate your hips all the way up, and an exhale as you lower all the way back down. It's nice and simple. It's not hard. This is even a way you can warm up. Now, a couple of things. Some people are really tight in the hip flexors and they can't get all the way straight. You need to be able to get straight here at the hips to where your hip bones are here and it's a straight line across. There's not like a dip or a crease here. So you should be able to reverse that crease and get that all the way flat. If you can't, here's one of the stretching things. Stretch your hip flexors and the upper quad muscles as well on the kneeling quad stretch, so that you open all that up so that you can actually get up to that kind of height. We do not want to focus on arching the low back. The low back should stay in the same position the whole time while you're doing this. This is just extending the hips, not the back. All right, so now you should be able to do 50, that's 50 of those without a problem. Just inhaling all the way up, exhaling all the way down. Inhaling all the way up, exhaling all the way back down. If you can't do that, you need to start practicing and building up to that, because it should not be hard to do that. You're not lifting your whole body weight, but you're using your glutes and your hamstrings and you're developing them. So focus on doing that, all right? So you can make it harder. You can grab, say up to 25% of your body weight. I'm just going to grab a 15 real fast. And you can put up to 25% of your body weight across your hips, just like I have this dumbbell across my hips, and do the same thing. And this will work it a little bit harder. And develop up to that, in which case you should still be able to do a good 20, 25, or even as many as 50. Where without a problem, without any discomfort or challenge. All right, now we can make it more challenging by, can you do it on one leg? So can you lift one leg up off of the ground? So I've got my left leg straight up towards the ceiling, still have my right foot flat on the floor, and all I'm going to do is just push through my right foot, elevate those hips all the way up to the top, and then lower all the way back down to the floor. Push that right foot, and then lower all the way back down to the floor. Now you should be able to do plenty of those as well. I recommend at least 25 of doing that on each side so that you can comfortably do that. So that you develop that hip and leg strength. So that you have all that before you even squat. Because squatting is fairly challenging. Now, once again, we can add some more instability. I'm going to grab one of my exercise balls over here. And we can sit up on top of our exercise ball and then roll down into our bridge position on the exercise ball to where our shoulders, neck, and head are all supported on top of the ball. But I've got everything nice and straight, so I'm already at the top. I've got my hips extended. Those hip flexors are stretched out, the glutes are working, and then I'm just going to bend at the hips, let my hips go a little bit more than halfway down to the floor, and then push through those feet and bring my hips all the way up to the top. Just like that, all the way down, all the way back up. Nice and simple. Same kind of thing, and once again, 25, 50, should be able to do it. You can even, once again, you can add the weight across the hips and do it with weight across the hips so that you improve that as well. All right, so now, if you're capable of doing all of that without a problem, you don't get sore, it's not hard, it's fairly simple, here are all the different ways that we can start progressing our squat to where we're squatting up on our feet. So, number one is having a ball up against the wall, like I have this ball here, and I'm putting that ball in right along my lumbar spine in the low part of our back. I've got my feet out in front of me. This is commonly pretty good for people that have a little bit of knee pain when they do squats. So, and let me throw that in there, of when we do squats, we only want to go down to the level where we just feel that edge of pain and then stop and pause for a bit and then push back out of that. Don't go through that and farther down deeper. You will build strength and you will build mobility and it will get better, I promise you. And I have other like knee exercises on here too. So, but don't go into that range that causes pain. So, you know, speak up about it. So go to that edge and then come back up. So, but this way, we can have a little bit of balance. We're not going to fall backwards in our squat because we've got a ball behind us. So, and we can bend our knees and we can drop our hips down, staying up nice and tall. We can even have our hands up here across our shoulders or across, so that we're kind of doing the genie sort of thing with our arms out in front and our elbows up in front of us. And you can have your arms straight out in front of you as you do them. You can even have your arms over your head as you do them and increase the range of motion of your lats and your shoulders while you're doing them, so you can move your arms around. And once again, you could hold a weight out in front of you while you do these as well. Okay, and then once again, 25, 50, maybe even 100. Okay, you need to develop that motion. So that makes it really easy to where you have some stability because you have that ball behind you. Other ways is having a chair or a bench like I have here, and having that chair or bench right behind you and you sitting all the way down. You can even sit in that chair and then push through your feet and stand up without rocking forward. You'll notice that I didn't rock forward when I came off of that bench. I just sat down and I came back up. I just sat down, got all my weight on the bench, and I'm going to push through my feet and I'm going to elevate myself up. I'm not rocking forward or leaning forward because I have enough strength to do that. You can also just drop down and just lightly touch and then come back up. So, and then you can also work on lowering that bench or a step or a plyo box or whatever you want, lower and lower to challenge yourself, or you can elevate your feet. All right, so we have that. And then we have something else that you can use for stability. We have a stick. So you could hold this stick. You could actually hold two if you wanted to. But you could hold the stick out in front of you, putting your feet in a comfortable stance. So now let's talk stance a little bit. Because everybody's like, oh, your feet need to be this far apart. Your feet need to turn be this way or that way or the other way. It's different for everybody. So one easy way to think of it that Paul Chek taught me was, if you're out in the woods and you need to have a poop, how are you going to put your feet? How are you going to drop all the way down into that squat to have a poop? So that is the best position to allow you to drop into a deep squat. Okay, and don't be freaking out about, oh, I got to get my feet way far away from the poop. Poop is actually part of us. It's supposed to be really healthy. The healthier you are, the healthier your poop is. So, whole different side note, but in World War II, when soldiers had dysentery, they gave them camel poo. So, because it cured the dysentery, because it gave them a really healthy bacteria and it fixed the problem. So, a little gross, but true. Okay? So, your poop should be healthy if you're healthy and if you're eating healthy. All right. Back to squatting. So, if we're going to have a bowel movement out in the woods, I'm going to put my feet somewhere around there. Okay, my feet are outside my shoulders just a little bit and my toes are turned out. It all has to do with the shape of my pelvis. A lot of my cyclists and downhill skiers, because of all the time they spend with everything straight forward, they have their like feet straight forward and their knees track like straight forward and everything's just like locked in straight. I'm not that way. When I was in high school, when I was really young, I was really overweight and it really opened up my pelvis and it turned it out. And then I've been a sprinter and done all sorts of other stuff, and so my hips are fairly open. So they don't close up super well. They like to be open a little bit more. So that's where it's most comfortable for me, and that way I can drop down into my squat without a problem and come all the way back up. Dropping all the way down into my squat and coming back up. Now I'm sliding my hands up and down the pole, but if you really need the pole for stability, you could hang on to it and drop into your squat and come back up and use that pole to help you a little bit so that you can develop the strength, all right? So the knees might come in a little bit. Once again, some of this has to do with how you're built. They shouldn't go crazy and way in here because that means your external hip rotators are all off, but they might rotate in a little bit. It's natural for the femurs to internally rotate. So, but then they should push back out as you come back in there. So if I drop down fast, you'll see mine come in a little bit, and then as I push out, they externally rotate. That's pronation and supination. Topic for a whole different day. All right, so now, how deep should we go as I throw the stick off to the side? So the depth of a squat should basically be when we should build up to the point, remember, listen to your knees, build up to the point where you should be able to touch the ground without a problem. So, because if we needed to pick up heavy objects off of the ground, we like say a rock to like build our shelter, we would need to be able to squat down deep enough to get a hold of that rock, okay? So that's at least as deep as we need to get so that you can come all the way down and touch the ground, okay? Without having your heels come up off the ground, which means stretch your calves if your heels are wanting to come up off the ground. Stretch your hamstrings if your heels are going to want to come up off the ground. Stretch your glutes if your heels want to come up off the ground. Okay, all those things restrict the back side of your body and make your heels want to come up off of the ground. Okay, boom. So now that we can squat, so now I'm squatting middle of the room, no pole, no ball, no nothing. Just me, my arms crossed across my chest, with my elbows lifted up out in front of me so the upper part of my arm or the humerus is parallel with the ground. This will help you keep your chest up a little bit, and then you can drop all the way down into your squat, and then you can push through your feet and come all the way back up standing. Dropping all the way down into your squat, and then push through those feet and come all the way back up into standing, just like that. See how it feels for you, see what's restricted, feel if you need to stretch something more. It should be easy. You should be able to do 25, 50, 75, 100 of those with just your body without a problem. So all of my clients can squat at least 30 to 50 times in various different ways. So because it's something that we do all the time. We sit down, we stand up, we get in cars, we get out of cars. It happens all the time. We need to be strong enough and stable enough, and it builds into other things like lunging and going up and down steps and all sorts of other things too. So, one thing I will throw out there is if you're having a little trouble with your squat, and I will also show you from the side, that if we add a little weight in our goblet position, so I've got a dumbbell, it's on its side, so the one side of the dumbbell is right underneath my chin, the other side is hanging down in front of my sternum, and I'm holding it with the heels of the palms of my hand on each side, so that I'm tucked right under there. And having a little bit of weight in front can help your squat be a little bit better. So if someone's kind of struggling with their squat, I'll give them like a 10-pound weight or up to 10% of their body weight. And I will give them that weight and then have them squatting all the way down and coming all the way back up. And even for me, it makes my squat feel a little bit easier. And what I want you to see is if you look at my shoulder from the side view here is right over the top of the arch of my foot. And as I drop down, my shoulder stays right over the arch of my foot. all the way down, and all the way back up. So if you hit a point where you're lacking flexibility, that shoulder is either going to go forward or that shoulder is either going to go backward, and you don't want that. It's marking the center of your gravity, and you want to keep the center of your gravity right over the arch of your foot at all times, so that it stays right there and right there, all the way down and all the way back up. Okay, so then you can slowly but surely increase the weight with your dumbbell as you're doing your goblet squat. So then let's bring the stick back in. When you're able to do plenty of good repetitions with a dumbbell, develop your goblet squat to where it feels really good, then you can start messing around with a bar and weight. I'm just going to use this stick because I wasn't going to pull the squat rack out and do the whole bar thing. So you can put the stick or the bar in front, up on the shoulders, and I can't necessarily hold it. I do not have the shoulder flexibility anymore for doing cleans and holding the bar in a clean position, only because I quit doing cleans a long time ago. I found other things that work much better for me. So I can hold it across the front of the shoulders here and keep my arms up nice and high, and I can squat that way, okay? Or if we want to do back squats, we can put the stick behind us, but you want to have the stick fairly high up, but not too high. So it should be sitting on the upper part of your shoulder blades. So my shoulder blades are right there. It's resting on my shoulder blades, and I'm keeping all of the muscles in my back turned on so that they're nice and strong and stable. And then I will drop all the way down into my squat and all the way back up, so that I'm in through that way. Okay, so that's how we would want to use additional weight. Now, if we want to play around, we'll get rid of the stick. If we want to play around with, maybe you want to do some variations in your squats and you want to work the lower VMO or the lower vastus muscles just above the knees a little bit more, which is very important to keep strong. Now, we can use, you can use a little weight plates to put your heels on. I got little rubber wedges here, and I got my heels up on the wedges and the balls of my feet down on the floor so that my heels are elevated a little bit, because in the real world, the world is not flat. So we might have different variations. So with this, I will go with dropping all the way down just like I did with my other one, and then coming all the way back up. But your knees are going to have to bend a whole lot more. Your hips are going to have to bend a little bit more too, but you're going to get a little bit more work in those lower vastus muscles. So if you really want to work that teardrop and get that nice and strong so that you have strong knees, then you can do that as well. Once again, only go as low as your knees feel good, okay? And work that. And once again, you can pause and hold and all that other kind of great stuff, all right? So those are all of your all your other variations of squatting, all the different things that you can do, okay? But then once you're really good at your squats, you can add things. This is when you can get into doing a squat, holding dumbbells, and then overpressing the head, and then dropping them back down and down into your squat, and pressing over your head, because now your squat's really good. So now you can start driving that squat with other activities, okay? So that you can do things like that. You can do overhead squats where you hold a lighter bar over your head and you do squats that way. You can use cables. And what I like to do with a squat and a row at the same time, where I squat all the way down with my arm out straight and then I row that weight in as I come all the way up. This is how I add volume to people's squats, so that they do different things all the time, but we get them to squat more than 100 times in a short period of time. If I do 15 of those with each arm, number one, it gets the heart going really fast. That's why I'm breathing a little bit harder, just because my body's like, uh-oh, what is it going to do? I can go 15 times with each arm, but my legs have to squat for each one. That's 30 squats right there. So, very important Work on your squat patterns. Get really good at your squat. It's going to keep you really happy and healthy. And then when you've mastered all that, look for my other videos on squat jumping, where we can start dropping down and we can get powerful and explosive with our squats. Okay? So, hope you all have a happy and healthy day. Put your comments down below with your questions. Let me know how you're doing on your squats. Love to hear all that feedback. And I will see you all in the next video.